his long leg over the bike and stood up in front of her. He studied her face, the corner of his mouth quirked in a fleeting smile. Your lipstick is smeared. I don't know what the fuck this is about. Oh my god. He was strangely touched by her vulnerability. He had never felt lips so soft. He looked into her eyes. They were wide, innocent, bewildered, and brimming with luminous tears. Acting purely on instinct, he lowered his head and kissed her. It was a gentle kiss, tender and compassionate, but it was planted fully on her lips.
This should be the whole podcast.
Yeah, that's just beautiful.
Thank you. Should I go on?
Keep going.
He rubbed his partially open mouth against her. It was by far the most intimate and evocative kiss Laura had ever had. So this is James and Laura, whoever the hell Laura is.
I'm listening.
We know James though. Titillating sensations speared straight downward and found targets in the cradle of her femininity. Her breasts tingled.
What happened to Adrian?
Back.
Hold on. Rip,
He's
keep
there.
going.
I
Keep
skipped
going.
this.
Keep
Okay,
going,
right.
Rip.
Before she could throw her arms around him. The flurry of desire she experienced terrified her, and she suddenly hated the man who had made her feel so unsafe and unsure.
Okay, I'm trying to
Are we
figure
good?
out why I can't see Adrian.
I can see him just fine, dude.
But I can't see him.
Well, that's weird.
Well, that's not.
You look good to me.
Okay, well,
Great.
okay, internet.
Can you hear him, Eris? Can you still hear him?
The internet can hear him. I can hear him. Everyone can hear him. We just can't see him. So don't panic. We'll see him in a second. It's Thursday.
Okay,
You're
I
watching.
haven't changed any settings or anything.
No. It's
so-
my fault. I don't know how to use a computer. So you guys just make
Sweet.
small talk for a moment. I'll fix it. Just give me a moment.
So what the hell was that? Was it 50 Shades of Grey or?
No, dude. Look, Eris told me to grab a Bible, and so I went to grab through like the drawers in here, and I found this. It's 22 Indigo Place by Sandra Brown. So if that sounded interesting to you guys, you know what to do.
Pick it up.
Yeah.
On
Holy
Amazon
shit.
or some shit. I don't even know. That was exciting. I might have to read this tonight.
I'm almost there,
Yeah.
internet.
James. So what's up, Eris?
I'm
Are we
chilling.
gonna
I'm
start
trying to
the show?
figure this out. Just keep up the good work. You're doing good.
All right.
Boom! There he is, internet. There he is.
Damn.
All right. We're
Got
almost
it.
there. We're
Sweet.
almost there. Just one more layer type of adjustment here, and boom! I'm an expert. Internet. It's
You
Thursday.
are an expert, Oris.
It's Thursday. You're watching ATP Live. Welcome to the show. My name's Eris. I'm joined by Rip. What's going on, Rip?
Oh, not much.
Boom is your greeting. Boom.
Oh.
And of course, we have a very special guest on the show today, Mr. Adrian Eriksson, aka the main man, Sweden. What's up, playa?
What's up, dudes? Hi, everybody, and thanks for having me, Oris, and hi to Rip as well.
What's up, man? Thank you for coming on. It is 5 a.m. Oh, we got a few things to clear up. First of all, it's 5 a.m. in Sweden right now, so it's a big deal that you're on, and I very much appreciate it. Secondly, the only people that usually call me Aris are black people. So you can continue to call me Aris, but it's actually pronounced
Yes.
Eris. So, feel free. You could call me Susan if it makes you happy, but just FYI, it's pronounced Eris. Now, moving forward, we have a bunch of things that we want to talk about, but I do want to mention that since I started doing podcasts, I mean, it's been a while now. You have been the most requested guest to have on my podcast by far. I mean, other people like JOP, Eddie Pistons and stuff, a lot of people like those, but man, the main man is like I have a million emails in my trash box, a billion of them. Everyone wants main man. So I'm very happy to finally get you on the show, and we'll get into some specific questions about, what you've been up to, your YouTube channel, your Twitch channel, Tekken related stuff and all that stuff. We'll get to that a little bit later, but before we get to that, we're going to cover a couple of the current events that have been going on, and if you have any opinions on those, just feel free to chime in as though you're a regular on the show, and we'll just get through those, and then we'll chit-chat with you about that stuff. So, internet, hold on to your butt cheeks. A couple of things transpired over last week, one of which was the Master Cup 7 tournament, which was held in Japan. So this tournament, coming up to it, they always have Master Cup every year, and it's something that I'm usually interested in. But this year seemed a little bit different. This year got a really nice American side Twitch stream. There was also a restream of the Japanese tournament through Twitch, so we didn't have to bend over backwards through Nico and lose our premium seat and all that shit. We were able to watch hours and hours of Tekken games from Japan with American commentary, so it was really nice for like the Western world to be able to be there during Master Cup this time. Also, this tournament was gigantic. There was 900 entrants almost. I heard 880. And hey,
shit.
Rip, did you freeze or are you just not moving?
I'm moving. I think
Oh,
I'm moving.
you
Am I
froze.
moving?
You're
Damn, I'm
frozen.
moving to main, man.
Yeah.
Right?
You're
Adrian
frozen
can
to
see me
me.
just fine.
Listen, I'm not lying to you. You're frozen. It
all
looks
right,
like
dude.
some kind of magazine clipping.
Here, I'll turn my video off and on for you.
Okay, perfect. Anyway, as I was saying, so the tournament was super dope. A lot of interesting matches happened. And, you know, Markman was there. Huge thanks to Markman, everyone at Namco who was involved. You know, and I forget the guy's name who streamed it, but some guy, oh, man, Rip, that's even worse. You're making a stupid face now. But anyway, so it was really, really cool to be able to participate in this Japanese tournament live, which is very rare. Adrian, did you get to catch any of the Master Cup tournament at all?
Sorry to say, I haven't actually watched it. A lot of people have, of course, told me about it, but I've had other stuff to do, so I'm just hoping I can watch it now post-tournament.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
on YouTube, yeah.
I myself am one of those people that doesn't have much to do, so I spent about like 10 or 12 hours watching this tournament, and I have to say it was really, really entertaining, really cool tournament. And again, I really have to thank Markman and everyone else who was involved in, you know, just this whole process. It's really a big deal going all the way to Japan, taking all your equipment, blah, blah, blah. So it's really cool that we had the opportunity to watch that. I'm not exactly sure how you can watch it now. I don't know if it's on YouTube yet. I know Master Cup has their own channel, and they produce the matches individually. So we'll see how that works out. We'll see how they come out. But the Twitch channel it was streamed on was twitch.tv/Tekken. So if you're interested in watching the archive, I think it might be available there. Regardless of all that, and I think Rip is still not with us. He's coming in from
I'm
Hawaii.
still in here.
Okay, you're still here. His video is thinking. But
Yeah.
Anyway, so Rip, you caught it, right?
Oh yeah, I watched the majority of it.
Okay, so significant events to me from the Master Cup tournament. First of all, Markman was talking about how this really attractive Ling Xiaoyu cosplayer was walking around, and it turned out that Ling Xiaoyu cosplayer was Kuro
Was a man.
Kuro. Yeah, it was a man.
Yeah, obviously, it goes
Kuro
without
Kuro
saying.
is a Tekken player. He's kind of an older Tekken player, though he looks very, very young. Apparently, he dressed up as Ling, and apparently Markman was impressed. So that was one really important thing that happened. Secondarily, Jackler, the legend, got on commentary and was commentating in English, which was just magnificent. I loved it. I loved it. Only Breakfast, So Rocky. This guy was fantastic. He's my new favorite commentator. So that was really cool. And even further than that, in the grand finals, we had a situation. Charles and I were watching live. We had a situation where we were both like, there's no way this Japanese team is going to beat this Korean team. And then the guy goes up and takes out 3 of the best players on the Korean team. And then in comes Jong Deding. This motherfucker comes in with double capos, and I don't know if you guys know, Internet, but a couple weeks ago, we had a whole stream talking about tier lists, and the one thing that I mentioned that in my opinion is extremely strong, especially in tournaments, especially in the clutch, is clone teams. And this guy came out with double capos in a one-game scenario, which is arguably the most clutch situation you could be in because it's one game. It's all about what you bring to the table. And this guy kicked the shit out of fucking 5 of the Japanese players like it was nothing. So personally, my opinion is this is more about the clones rather than the characters. What are your thoughts on this concept? Adrian, you go first. What do you think about the idea of clones versus this clutch scenario?
Well, clone teams to me almost wrecked TTT2. It was a major disappointment in my eyes because the whole thing with tag is that you have to actually learn 2 different characters and make them work together, and you have to find characters that have a specific type of synergy depending on the gameplay, the strats. The style you're going for, if you're aggressive or defensive, maybe you'd like to play Miguel and Kazuya, the defensive character and a very aggressive character. So to me, clone teams, yeah, it's kind of dull because someone who's very adept at one character can just pick 2 of those and yeah, never really have to learn anything else. But of course, then you have to deal with the fact that maybe you're versusing someone who's very strong against that particular character. And he's going to have maybe an easier time dealing with 2 of those. But you will always be playing your strongest card. So I guess it
Right.
evens it out.
See,
But
my theory, sorry to interrupt you there, but my
no,
theory
it's
is
fine.
that the thing you mentioned absolutely exists. However, the less games you're able to play, the less that matters in my eyes. So if we're talking about a very long set, like a first to 10, then I think if your opponent is very good, let's say against one capo, you playing double capos could hurt. But in, let's say, 2 out of 3 or even one game like this tournament was, I feel like in these scenarios, it's going to be more about when you do the right thing at the right time, landing those clutch launchers and punishes. And if you have one character, no matter whether you tag in or out, I personally feel like this is like the most dangerous weapon in a single game tournament where it's all about clutch. Anyway, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's not a problem. Um, and of course, I mean, you and Rip are going to talk about this game on a completely different level to my own, as I don't play the game competitively. I mean, I went to a tournament this year in Finland, but I think that was my first tournament in probably 4 years, I think.
Wow.
So you guys have a completely different perspective. So I have to talk out of my online Wrexham noobs perspective. What I see mostly, or what I hear mostly from people, are people being very frustrated, playing online, maybe at quite low ranks, green, yellow ranks. I think that's where we find the majority of the people who have played Tekken Tag 2 online up until this point, from the release. And the frustration with the clone characters, I think, is pretty prevalent, as most of the clone teams are actually these characters that a lot of people see as the easier characters to pick up in Tekken, like Lily, of course, or no offense to Rip, but Law and Bob and Jack, and of course the capos. And I don't know if there's a specific reason as to why those characters got clone teams. I mean, obviously you have a story point and the history, of course, Forest Law and Tekken 3 and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know if Harada thought like, well, maybe the majority of the players of these characters would like to have a partner with an identical moveset, but I just think that when it comes to competitive level and the impact of clone characters, you and Rip are going to have much better things to say than I will ever be able to say on this topic. But I think my first words on this are pretty much what I can say, I think.
Fair enough.
But I'm kind of happy to hear that a double capo player did well. Because I have huge trouble dealing with capos, and I always think like, why am I such a fucking loser? I mean, I should be able to see what's happening, but I run into practice mode after being completely raped by a capo, and I go like, okay, so these are the key moves to use, and I try to deal with them, but I just can't. And back 1-4, I can't step it. I can break throws pretty fucking regularly, but when it comes to stepping back 1-4, I just can't react to it. I just can't. I'm an online player, might be online, but that move to me is so strong.
It's bullshit. That was bullshit, dude.
Yeah, that's one move I hope doesn't make it to Tekken 7.
Yeah. Definitely. It's like maybe it would be a good thing though, because she just has to hit you with one counter hit, and then boom, you have your super, just like that. So,
yeah.
We'll see. Maybe that'll pan out. But what do you think, Rip? What do you think on the topic of this clone team winning that clutch tournament?
No, I think you're right. I think in a fewer game set, having just one character to deal with that is going to be your strongest character is really going to come in handy. I think that obviously certain clone teams like Capos and Double E, I think those are the ones that stand out as like the best ones. Just because of their overall damage output as well as their general gameplay.
Right.
So being a double law player, I mean, I think that's cheap online because I do think that Law's Junkyard combo is really good, and especially online against newer players. And so I think Main Man has a fair point there. And going back to Main Man's other point about what Harada was thinking, like, do these players want to not learn another character? Maybe is that what Harada was thinking? I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it can be seen as an arrogant point. I don't know, as if, I mean, those characters are like lesser characters, and most of the people who play them are not very adept at Tekken. But
Yeah, they're all
I
shitheads.
just don't
Anyone
know.
who plays
But
those characters are definitely shitheads. I agree.
yeah, but it just feels like I don't know. Is it a coincidence that you have these characters that are usually seen as beginner characters, and they have all of them a clone? But I mean, Lee, of course, is not a beginner character in any sense, and he has a clone, so that might actually kill my point. But
Right, I don't know. What do you think? Go ahead, Rip.
Yeah, and I mean, I think personally that it was just based on history. If I look at how the clone teams are made, that was another point that main man brought up, and I think that historically, all these characters have shown up before, and the only one that really hadn't was Sebastian.
Yeah.
And Sebastian, at least we had seen him in games before. We just hadn't seen a moveset. Whereas if they had made like a clone of Paul, it would have been a character that we had never seen before, or a clone of Miguel would have been something. I mean, unless his dead sister came back and had his moveset, like
Right, yeah.
that would have been
know.
awesome.
Yeah,
The
so
Grudge.
yeah, she had all her hair down. That was tight. But yeah, I mean, I do think that clone teams are fairly strong. I just think that it's limited. I don't think that a lot of them are like the strongest. And
Right. Yeah, I mean,
another thing about
Go ahead.
one more thing about the clone teams is that the Netsu factor doesn't work out with Law and Force Law because he's a DLC character. So it also does not work out with Lee and Violet because Violet's a DLC character.
Right.
And all DLC characters have 50%? It's like the basic Netsu. It's like
Right.
no advantage or disadvantage.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
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 And so I
Very
think
interesting.
only the Capos I think then could have an advantage, but I don't actually know what
I
their
think
allegiance is.
Bears have an advantage, maybe
Oh, right.
Capos, but you're right. Yeah, the Netsu is, since Capos are actually available in the arcade as a clone, and that might be the only other than Kuma and Panda team that's available in terms of clones in the arcade. So the Netsu works, definitely in that team's favor for sure. And that kind of thing, yeah, it'll add up in the long run. It's like the little damage is like the free throws, So definitely agree with a lot of these points. So anyway, go ahead, Rip. Was there anything else you were saying?
No, that was basically it.
So yeah, I mean, this is personally what I took away from the tournament. I mean, the tournament was really cool. A lot of really great players played. A lot of really great upsets happened. Good matches. But to me, I think the lesson here is that, when it comes to tournament Tekken, I really truly believe in Capos especially. If you're a strong Capo player, we weren't surprised. We were more surprised when the Japanese team started wrecking the Korean team. But then when Johnny D came up, man, it was beat down central. This guy was on point. So really, really cool tournament. Really excited about being able to watch it with good commentary. I mean, Markman was on there for like 14 hours. This guy was eating his meals and commentating. So, I think as the Tekken community, we all owe Markman and everyone else who was involved in that definitely for such a cool event.
Yeah, I just have to second that. I mean, you just can't say enough about Markman. I mean, any video I watch from a tournament, he's there he has some part in that tournament. And yeah, it's just amazing the stuff he does for the community.
Absolutely. He is our savior as the Tekken scene.
He is.
He's one of those people that you guys are always talking about, oh, Rip, main man, oh, all this stuff. People do stuff for the scene. But without Mark, I mean, I don't know where we'd be right now. So it's really, really dope that he exists, and we're very lucky that he likes Tekken as much as he does. Because he helps out a grip. And, speaking of which, during that tournament, Mark mentioned a lot of stuff he has coming down the pipeline, too, about Tekken. So, there is a lot to be excited about, even though perhaps a lot of us won't get our hands on Tekken 7 as early as we'd like. I think there's a lot of stuff to look forward to as Tekken fans as well, just from the sound of what Mark says. And, he doesn't bullshit. When he says something cool is going to happen. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
Hey,
awesome.
one more thing about Master Cup I just want to mention.
Sure, go ahead.
Master Cup has been going on for a long time, and I've always been kind of excited for it. I remember back in the day I used to try and download videos if it after it happened, that sort of thing. And even with all of that hype, like I still never really cared for it. Like SBO was always the one I was like, all right, we have qualifiers for this one, so we'll try and go, whatever. But after this tournament and seeing it streamed and like a lot of people in chat being like, yo, where's like is there a USA team in this kind of thing? it really brought the event up, and I think it really opened the event up to so many people just because of this English stream for the first time on Twitch.
Yeah.
So, huge shout out to Mark and Namco and everyone who was involved in making those streams happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right about that. I mean, I would bet on there being a Team USA next year. So, that in itself, this tournament really became something special. When I was in Japan, Masa Karijin, who is the guy who, he's the Alex Valle of this tournament. He organizes the tournament. It's all him. It's not an Namco event. This guy runs the tournament. When I was in Japan, this guy came up to me and he gave me this, pamphlet or this book that's like a pamphlet that represents his tournament. It shows all the players and shit. And he was like, please, we want you to come and enter Master Cup. We want you to come back to Japan. So this event, this last Master Cup that transpired, I think is really an important and pivotal event for the series of Master Cup, because as you said, it's now available to the Western world and people are interested. And with the lack of a Super Battle Opera, I think it's going to be really, really a special event next year. I think everyone's looking at it. So great job. Overall, I think we can all agree, fantastic work. Masa Karijin, everyone involved, Namco Harada, super dope. Very, very happy about that. Okay, so moving on. Next topic. Recently, I think it was AAK put a post up on avoidingthepuddle.com saying that Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, which is at this point a couple years old, is getting an update, right? Now, initially we were thinking that perhaps this was a balance update, and it still may be, but I've been hearing buzz about it actually not being a balance update. Instead, what I've been hearing is that the network is going down. And this update may just be an update to create the game and make it playable in an offline, non-network scenario. So if that's the case, that's kind of a bummer. It's not really as exciting. But initially, when I heard that they were doing a balance update to a game that at this point it came out in 2005, the original Virtua Fighter 5 came out in 2005. So it's about to be 10 years old. I was really surprised and mildly disappointed when I heard that there could be an update to it, because I personally want a new Virtua Fighter game. I want VF6 to come out. But at this point, we're not really exactly sure what this update is all about. I haven't heard too much since the initial post, but it could be a balance update, which I think would be very peculiar, or it could be an update to the network so that it can run offline. Now, Rip, what are your thoughts on the potential of this being a balance update for an ancient game that perhaps is not that popular in today's fighting game market, or versus it being a network update? What are your thoughts on this, Rip?
I think it's most likely the network update, because that would just be insane for them to make it a balance update at this point. The reason that they would even put out a network update is because the scene is so small at this point, right? So it really is, it's confusing to me that they would put out a balance update for this. I mean, if they were going to call it something else and release it as Virtua Fighter 5, the most final showdown or something, then
you sold
fine.
it, man. Yeah.
Right. I mean, then in that case, fine. Add a couple characters and it's a new game practically, right? And I can see them going that route. But if it's just a patch for the game, then I see it just being not a balance patch, just a compatibility update. I mean, they have had Sega Cup going now for 2 years straight, and the third one, I think it's always been around April,
right?
Sega Cup. So if it is a balance update and it is coming out within the next month, that does give people enough time for the next Sega Cup to be for a new version of Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown. So that's an interesting idea, I guess.
Yeah, but you have to also remember the concept of it being an arcade update versus the console receiving an update.
Oh, I didn't even know that part.
Yeah, as far as I know, this is an arcade update.
So what is the network in the arcade?
There is a network in the arcade. I think it has to do with costumes and rank and stuff. I'm not familiar, but I mean, they are coming out with an update. That's for sure. The name of the update kind of is it's like Final Showdown version B or Type B or Type 2 or something like that. So it's not like the name is Virtua Fighter 5, like you mentioned, Ultimate Final Showdown or something like that. That would suggest an update. The fact that it's like Final Showdown version B, it could be anything. It could be a balance update. It could be a network update. I'm not really sure on it, but
with that kind of a name, I would think it's not going to be balance update. I mean, unless it's Jackie has an infinite here that kills people, then we'll just take that infinite out and we're going to take out the network. You know what I mean? Something minor like that. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not sure. What do you think about the whole scenario, main man? What are your thoughts?
Christ, what can I say? I haven't played that much Final Showdown, but I think Virtua Fighter in general is an amazing game, and anyone who has played it has seen how much Namco has borrowed, or whatever word you want to put into this sentence, borrowed from that game. I mean, it's a one of a kind, and anything that gives the series vitality is a great sign. But of course, if it's just them shutting down the servers, then that's not very cool. But as you said, I would like to hear something about a Virtua Fighter 6, because it's just been too long without any signs of life. So that I guess is what I can say on the whole subject.
Yeah, I totally agree on that, in that sense, for sure, because I agree with you. The game is really fantastic. I, at one point, especially during the time when I was playing Tekken 6, was kind of a hater on Virtua Fighter, but only because nobody really I knew played it. But once Final Showdown came out and I really gave it a shot, I really was able to see the charm in that game. That game is actually quite good, and it made me very excited for the series. It's just that, you know, it's very unpopular at this point, so it'll have to be something that comes out in Japan, and hopefully it's a big hit. But either way, I'm very, very excited for hopeful and excited for the potential of a new Virtua Fighter. At least they're alive, at least they're kicking and doing something, whether it's a balance patch or not. I'm hoping.
Yeah, but the current climate of fighting game genre is kind of depressing, in my opinion. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 4, they're good. I can see the appeal. You know, they're rather easy to pick up. Street Fighter is harder, I think, than Mortal Kombat. I haven't played them that much, but I just find it sad that the popularity of games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter pretty much kill games like Virtua Fighter, who have so little to, I guess, offer when it comes to the aesthetics, you know, and the whole theatricality of the game. I mean, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are very pleasing games to look at. One cannot say that with Virtua Fighter. The graphics always feel rather outdated, and even when it's good, I think Final Showdown, on a technical level, as it was when it was released, the graphics were pretty gorgeous, but the costumes of the characters and the colors, it never really worked to me, and the sound effects are so incredibly outdated. I mean, it sounds like a Jackie Chan, almost a Bruce Lee movie, you know, from the 70s, and some of the animations don't work, and some of the characters don't feel really cool as well. I always just sit there, you know, and think like, oh my god, you guys, if you guys just did a revamp of the graphics and the style of the game, this would sell. I mean, you have such a good game here, but you can't compete with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and even Tekken on the design department. So I think stuff like that holds back a game that's so good, and it just frustrates me like crazy to see it. And Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, they deserve their selves, but to me, it's just so depressing to see such a good series getting stomped. But it has its reasons, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I can't agree with you more. I mean, the sound effects, the whole character standing in this weird, like, rigid stance, the bean joystick that pops up and tells you to shake out of a double overstun. Just a lot of the aspects to the game, even though the game itself is very, very good, charming, really good, robust system and technical, it just looks like it's old. It still looks like Virtua Fighter 2. In some aspects, it still looks like Virtua Fighter 2. So whatever. No need to complain about VF at this point. But I am very hopeful for the series, and I think everyone is. I think even all Tekken players can at least be a little bit hopeful for a future VF, and I think most people would agree with us in this context. Even the people that love the game, they know that there could be improvements made, and this is something that we can all just be hopeful for in the future. Fans are out there. Lots of people are out there who want to see VF prosper, but, you know, it's tough. Like you said, it's really tough, and I've heard even Harada mention that fighting games, he thinks, can cannibalize each other. So even though it's not necessarily a competition, it kind of is if they release near each other, or, you know, you have to be very cautious about this type of thing. So we'll see. Either way, I'm very, very hopeful for Virtua Fighter and just the series in general. It's something that I'm keeping an eye on for sure.
Dude, you know what'd be crazy?
What's up,
Can you
Billy?
imagine if Sega and Virtua Fighter, if they released Virtua Fighter 6 to consoles directly before Tekken 7 hits consoles? Oh my
Oh my
god.
god, that would be sick. They
That would be
would
so
tell
smart,
everyone to fuck off if they did that.
right?
Yeah.
VF, who makes that? AM2 or Sega or something? Whoever makes that, dude, this is your opportunity. You could tell Namco to go fuck themselves by releasing a console Virtua Fighter 6 right now. Just like, boom, you already have it. Here you go. I mean, that's basically what they did with Final Showdown. They were just like, hey, check this out. Boom. It's almost
Yeah,
out.
but they have to add Tekken Revolution invincible moves, or else I'm not buying it.
That's the rule? Okay, and it has to be free, and you have to pay for tokens, too.
Yeah, and when the green
Yeah.
thing comes up, it has to say, shake, motherfucker!
Yeah,
That'll be so
you got to
nice.
shake your DualShock to get out of stuns. Shake the whole controller. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But either way, I'm very excited. I like that series, and at least there's some kind of life coming out of the Virtua Fighter scene. So that's good news. Anything that I missed that you guys would like to cover on in terms of Virtua Fighter?
You guys got it.
All right, sounds
Yeah,
good.
you got it.
So I think that about wraps it up in terms of current events. Unless you guys can think of anything, I think at this juncture we should talk a little bit about the main man and talk about what you contribute to the scene and everything. So we could start with what everyone usually starts at, like when did you start playing Tekken and all that shit. But I don't really care about that. I care more about when did you start creating content for Tekken and what was your motivation?
I think I started creating content in 2006. I did some combo videos that I uploaded to fellow Tekken player Maximilian. He has done a lot for the community. He had done FTP that people on Tekken Zaibatsu could access, and you got some game. I mean, this was prior to YouTube. I mean, he put it up like, the early first half of is it the 21st century? A couple. Oh,
Don't
fuck
even
it.
ask me, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even
I'm
know
not
what
sure.
month it is, dude.
But so anyway, I started doing combo videos, and I'm almost 30 now. I was like, what was I? Well, what was I? I was like 20, 21 when I started. I actually started doing combo videos for Tekken 4, but I never uploaded those. And I think I started doing that, and I'm going to be painfully sincere here. I think it was kind of an ego boost. I think that's what most people who do combo videos want at first. They want recognition. So I guess I posted it on YouTube hoping to get a lot of views and people saying, holy shit, you're so cool, look at those awesome combos. But as I've matured over the years, it's become less about that and more about actually love of the game and reaching out to people who maybe don't see Tekken as an awesome game, but if they actually learn something about the game, because it's a very hard game to get into, if they learn something about the game, they would actually see it the way I do and want to actually progress and take that climbing that mountain of bullshit that is like the first 1-2 years of Tekken. Inspiring people to do that has been my goal the last few years. And I started doing combo videos, and I did that for the longest time. It was just a couple of years ago I started doing tutorials because I just realized that was what the scene kind of lacked. You did a lot of stuff, Aris. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Perfect.
Aris?
Fantastic.
Thank you. Awesome. Great job, by the way. I love your videos, and Rip has got some amazing videos as well. So I just saw it like I have pretty good execution. So I was like, what can I do? Can I start talking about like movement, arcade sticks, the electric, the Omen Thunder God, stuff like that I'm pretty good at. So I just saw an opportunity there when I could open people's eyes, when it came to maybe the more technical aspects of a game. But I'm just trying to get people to see that there's more to Tekken than 10-hit combos, because a lot of people who start with Tekken these days get a major misconception of the game. Maybe they go buy the game today, they go online, and then they get completely killed by a double Lily team or a double Capo team, and maybe they picked Paul Phoenix, and they go like, well, Paul sucks. I can't even touch that character. Paul is always standing up. As soon as I press buttons, he doesn't fly across the screen, and he doesn't have built-in defense into his attacks. He must be really bad. But then that player, of course, doesn't realize that he needs spacing to deal with the characters as capos and stuff. And that's so hard to acquire on an early level. So I just want people to hopefully go into YouTube and do a quick search and maybe find a few of maybe my tutorials or your tutorials and see that there is a way out, and if you stick with the game, the reward is huge. So I guess that's why I'm doing videos these days.
Very well said.
Okay, cool. hopefully it was a decent answer.
Okay, cut. That's gonna go in the final product. Okay, so what about the transition in terms of you being a combo maker? Because when you make combos, it's like you could be any fucking nerd on the planet. You could have no teeth. You could not know how to read. You just don't know how to do combos and edit. But now you have a voice and you have a face. And this is a big transition, going from someone who you just see you doing electrics to, okay, this guy is talking, he's saying shit, he's talking about things that maybe aren't even Tekken related. This is definitely a transition that Rip and I made, but it's something that is really unique, and not everyone can handle it. It can be quite difficult dealing with a bunch of shitheads in the chat room talking shit and, et cetera, et cetera. So how do you feel about this transition from being a combo maker to someone who actually has a face and a voice, and actually people listen to you and care about what you say? Your voice means a lot. So talk about a little bit of your experience in terms of this transition.
What actually drove me to streaming was I watched a session on your channel. I think it was your birthday session. I think you turned 28 or 29. I don't really remember. Wow. But I just remember thinking it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I mean, you coming up against a new opponent all the time, playing ranked, and of course you're ranting. I mean, it was just amazing. And I knew that I have to try this. So yeah, I got a Twitch account and I started streaming. And as you said, yeah, it was a very hard transition for me because obviously, instantly, everyone has an opinion on how you play, your personality, the way you talk, the way you dress. I mean, it just never ends. And I have pretty thick skin, but I was quite taken by it at first because I mean, prior to me actually getting moderators in my chat, I mean, holy shit, I would get completely nuked with abuse and, yeah, what one would call shit comments or cesspool comments from the abyss, the dark abyss of Twitch. But as soon as I got the chat rather moderated, I only had people who like watching me play left, even though I don't, at first I banned everyone that through abuse because it was just so much. So I was like, just ban everyone that goes, main man can go, yeah, insert anything here. So as soon as I had done that, it got a lot more pleasant, and then with time I could unban people who mailed me and said I got banned for no reason. Why am I talking about these details? But it's a very hard transition for sure, and it took me months before I think I could handle it with neutrality. Yeah. Is that even a word? So really difficult, but to me today it's just there's nothing like it. I can play, and as soon as I run into something I can't deal with, instantly I get a lot of tips in the chat session, like that's punishable, that moves like -13, you can back 1-2 with Kazuya. It's just invaluable. I get really, so much help, and I just can't see myself not streaming today. And it's so much fun, interacting with people who have questions and stuff. It's sad though that they implemented this new system and now you can't. It's not live. You have a 30-40 second delay, and that's really annoying. But on the whole, streaming is amazing, and I do hope more Europeans start streaming because I don't think we have a lot of people right now. We have a lot of awesome US streamers, of course. But I mean, it's gone better than I thought. I mean, at first I was like, who the hell wants to see me play? I mean, I'm rather low ranked, There's a lot of characters I don't know how to deal with at all, but it's worked pretty well, much better than I thought. But I think that in a nutshell is why I started streaming and how I see streaming today.
Very good, very good. Now, that brings me into the topic of, as you mentioned, other people streaming. So, to me, I was quite organic, and it was kind of like, the way you mentioned, like, you watched my stream and you were like, wow, that sounds like fun, let me do it. For me, that was very similar. When I used to watch Rockefeller and a couple other American commentators commentate other games like Street Fighter, I thought to myself, like, wow, this is so cool, I want to do that. It was immediately, I was fascinated with the idea of streaming and talking shit and having a chat talk shit to me and call me fat or whatever. I love that interaction of everyone just insulting everyone but still being there for the fun of the game, which reminded me very much of the abrasive nature of being in an arcade. Like the chat room very frequently reminds me of the kind of asshole people that would be at the arcade, and they may not know anything about the game you're playing, but they're more than willing to come up and right after you lost tell you, you fucking suck. Like that's what I really like about this, like, interaction between the chat and myself. But what I wonder, and the thing that really kind of shocked me now looking back at the last 4 years, is that there aren't more people like yourself, because you started as an arcade as a combo maker, and you made that transition into tutorials, and now it's more about anything you want. You can make a video where you're like, I've seen a video where you're talking about whatever, a movie or fucking like whatever you want, and that's really where the beauty lies. There comes a point where at this point you could do whatever the fuck you want. You can talk about the game, you can make a tutorial, you can make a combo video, or you could stream for 8 hours a day, and the point is that you're producing content. Now what I wonder is, why do you think other combo makers like yourself at first didn't make this transition? Because I can think of a trillion. There's all these great combo makers, Gook 11, TMM, not TMM, you're TMM. What's that guy? TMDO2, TMDO2, many other combo makers out there that could have made this transition but didn't. What do you think is the reason that they didn't? What do you think?
Whoa, that's a really interesting question. Christ. I think, first of all, that it's really hard to I'm trying to find the perfect word here. You kind of expose yourself maybe in a way that some people don't want to do when people actually get to hear your voice.
Yeah.
That was a big step for me. I mean, I did videos for I don't know how many goddamn years before I actually put my voice into a video. And yeah, that's a hard thing to do, because you just launch yourself out there, to a lot of people. And a lot of people, I think, find that rather uncomfortable. So that, I think that's a point. But also, it's super hard making videos where you just discuss stuff, where there's no gameplay, because the pacing of such a video is very hard to determine the quality of. I don't know if I'm going to make any sense here, but if you want to hold someone's attention with just words and no gameplay as a video gamer, that's infinitely harder than just showing gameplay and talking, or just playing. It's very difficult, and of course, I mean, you might be good at doing combos, and maybe that's what you want to get out of your part of a scene. People telling you, "Oh, you're amazingly creative with these combos," and that's maybe all they want. I don't know. I mean, that might be arrogant to say, but to me, I don't do combo videos anymore. I just do the closest thing to a combo video I do a pain series now, where I just link together online combos. That's more fun to me, because that's actually combos you did against an opponent. I mean, that's so much more interesting to see. But going back to your point, I just don't know why they haven't done the transition I did, because I do know that a lot of them want to see an increase in their follower base, get more subscribers, on YouTube. And I talk to these guys regularly, and told them that tutorials can do a lot to your following because you branch out, and it's a whole new set of people that are going to start watching your channel. And I just remember when I started talking to you, Aris, in was it like last year? I think it was. That's when I got my full screen partnership,
yeah.
and you helped me with that. Thanks a lot. But I had just done my first character guide. I did a Kazuya guide, and that it was like an explosion on my subscriber count. I think I had like 4,000, and then with that guide in like 1-2 months, I had like 2,000 more, and then. As soon as I started doing more tutorials, I just instantly recognized the fact that this is what people want to see. They want to know how to do the stuff. They just don't want to see it. But hopefully I made some points. But I just think that there's no guarantee that someone that's really good at combos actually has a personality or a soul.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I think it's a matter of, there's a lot to it, and I think you've done an excellent transition. I think the fact that there aren't,
very kind of you.
Of course, the fact that there aren't more the main mans out there shows how difficult it is for someone to just go from, sitting behind an arcade stick and doing combos to actually having a voice. I think it's really cool that you did that, and I really wish that more people did do that, because the more main mans there are out there, the better it is for Tekken. And I remember when you made that Kazuya tutorial, I was watching that shit. I think I called Rip while I was watching it, and I told him like, what the fuck, this guy owned me so hard. This tutorial, like, when I do a tutorial, it's like, okay, push the button and start talking. For you, it was like this script, and it had cut scenes from the movies and the cartoons, and it was just like, wow, this guy's really just going to take a shit all over me like that, huh? So it was really impressive, and I think it was well-deserved. You clearly put a shitload of work into that, and I really think, honestly, in all honesty, what they should do in the Tekken series is get rid of the fucking endings in the game and create some kind of a video that you unlocked for beating the game with each character that's like that, where it integrates a tutorial and some story elements of the game. I thought that fusion you had of, I don't really give a fuck about Kazuya's story, but I watched that whole thing because you made me think, okay, this guy gives a fuck about Kazuya's story. He's presenting it in a cool way, and he's giving me information that I actually care about. So it was a really good way for you to fuse these two aspects of a video game, one of them being the story and the other aspect being the gameplay together. That was an excellent fusion. So I think that's fantastic. I think that more people should do that, and I hope with Tekken 7, more people transition from this, voiceless, combo maker on YouTube to someone who actually has a voice and talks about the things that they're doing. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, just going off that really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Boom. the other combo makers out there, I think really, if they want to branch out like this, they really should start off with their tutorials about the characters that they really are good at doing combos with. Because I remember when I first saw Main Man was doing tutorials, I was like, I didn't even know he played the game really. I knew he did combos, but I was like, okay, well, he's got to at least know about his character though. You know what I mean? And I thought it was a good transition point. And so I think that a lot of these guys out there, like who say it, they're like, I don't know, let's say ancient ogre masters or something. You know what I mean? Like they have the sickest combos of ancient ogre. I think these guys actually have more knowledge about that character than most other people do. And I think if they start putting their time into making a combo or a tutorial video for that character, they'll actually realize a lot of the stuff that they don't know about the character as well. Did you go through that, Main Man, at all, where when you were doing the tutorial, you started realizing that you didn't know certain aspects of the character?
Yeah, that's for sure true in my case. I mean, I know some. Okay, I know quite a lot about the Mishimas, the general trio. I mean, Kazuya, Heihachi, Devil Jin. But I also made a guide for Jin Kazama, and regular Jin. I don't know a lot about that character, but I did a complete character guide, and yeah, I had to do like 20% of that guide was my knowledge prior to making it, and 80% was just throwing myself onto the frame database on avoiding the puddle, and then just checking every goddamn thread on Jin on Tekken Zaibatsu and googling him like crazy. So that for sure was the case when I did that guide, and I've run into that when doing other guides as well, because you don't want to look like a retard when making these guides. You know, like someone in the like the first comment after you post the video is like, "But that's wrong."
Yeah.
You know, you fucked up. You know, and my ego is way too big for that. So.
And you know, in my case with Level Up Your Game, that was the thing. Like, you know, putting myself in front of the camera for the first time was like intimidating. And then on our first video, we got the backdash thing wrong. And Antonio C, was that his name? Antonio C?
Yeah.
He called us out on it, you know, and I was like, oh my God, we can't make mistakes. You know, and then after that, everything has just been like a learning experience. And so for anyone getting into this, I mean, it's going to make you a better player as well, just doing these tutorials. So use that as your inspiration to get better in Tekken as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so easy to get something wrong in Tekken, because with stuff like movement, there's often two different ways to do the same thing, and you always leave something out.
Yeah, definitely there's room for comment trolls for sure when it comes to Tekken content. That's absolutely true. So let's move on. Another aspect that I think a lot of people are inquisitive about when it comes to the main man is, so this guy obviously knows how to do electrics. This guy obviously knows how to move. He's got all of the aspects of the game down. He, as you said, you know how to throw break. All of the components are there. The one thing that is lacking when you hear the word main man is, as you said it yourself, tournaments. So can you explain why perhaps you are not interested in tournaments, or what about that aspect of the world of Tekken is unappealing to you as opposed to the creating of the content and playing online? It seems like the competitive drive to improve is there, but everyone's wondering, why doesn't the main man enter tournaments? So I think this is a good opportunity for you to explain that aspect of your personality.
I think that the first step to becoming a tournament regular is being very active in your local offline scene, of course. And that's never really been the case for me. I mean, I was the most active, like, was it like 7 years ago, I think, with the launch of Tekken 5, I think. Thing is, I'm pretty picky with the people I hang with IRL in real life. And I've had some pretty good contacts in the local scene here in Stockholm, Sweden. But I've never I've never really befriended anyone on a very personal level. So I think that is one of the major reasons why I've never been the frequent tournament player, because I've never really sat down, you know, every week for hours with the local players, which I probably should have done if I wanted to become a competitive player. But it's just always been more fun to sit at home, you know, crack open a bottle of wine and eat some popcorn and Frosties. Or do you have Frosties in the US? I hope so.
I don't even know what that is.
Nope.
What the fuck is that?
It's a really awesome cereal. It's pretty much sugar and some corn.
We have that. We have that.
Yeah, you probably have a substitute. But no, I've just always found it more fun to play online. You know, I can just boot up the PS3 whenever I want to and get some games in. And of course, if you want to become a tournament player in Tekken, I mean, holy shit, the amount of time you have to put into the game and the amount of knowledge you need to have. I mean, I'm never going to reach that level. You know, if I want to do that, I have to put in so much time, you know, and all the different matchups I have to learn. For the largest part of my Tekken career, I've always been that type of player that has some friends, you know, on my PSN list that I like to play, and they are usually people who use the type of characters I do, the characters I like. I'm pretty good with the Mishima matchup, the Brian matchup, Steve matchup, you know, characters like that. That's why I get so fucking pissed when I, in ranked, encounter all of the Kumas, you know, the Rogers, the Zafinas, because I just don't know how to deal with them. And if I want to play in tournaments, I'm going to have to learn how to deal with them. Because otherwise I'm going to get knocked out in the first round by someone who just has the ability to actually select Zafina. He's like, oh, I did it. I put the cursor on Zafina and I pressed X. I got the character. Now the main man has lost. Now all I have to do is like press some buttons and I'm fucked. I mean that's how I do online versus those characters. Yeah, that's why I'm not a tournament regular. But I'm going to try and head to more tournaments. As when I went to one in Finland now in February, it was so much fun, you know, meeting a lot of top players from Europe, and a lot of people were so kind to me. I didn't know what the fuck to expect when I went to a tournament, but it had a really cool atmosphere. Yeah, tournaments are really cool, but I think the level of commitment from my side, if I really want to become a good player, so to say, it's just so much time I have to put into it, and I just don't know today if I have that time. So hopefully that's an elaborate answer. I don't know.
I think the vibe I'm getting from you is that you don't feel. See, the thing is, so I can tell by watching you play that there is a certain level that you have acquired, and in my opinion, that level is more than high enough to, let's say, enter a tournament, because there are people that are way worse. I don't need to ever play you offline to know that you know. When I watched your tutorial, I was very skeptical. I was getting ready to shit on you, and everything you said was really reasonable strategies. Like, these are very, very reasonable strategies. It sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And the one thing that really grinds my gears is when people that don't have credentials and don't know what they're talking about are making tutorials, and we touched on that before. But when I watched your stuff and when I hear you talk, I know this guy knows what he's talking about. So I know that it's not the aspect that maybe you're not good enough or maybe something isn't there. To me, it sounds more like you're just not interested in the competitive Tekken itself. Because
I am interested in it, and I find it absolutely mesmerizing and beautiful. I mean, I love watching top players go at it, and of course, all the tournaments like Final Round and Evo, I'm the first one there to watch them. I mean, it's always great to see top level Tekken and the mind games going on, you know, and just the general strategy of the game. I'm in love with it, but it's, as I touched upon earlier, it's just the fact that I have to learn to deal with 40 characters I know so little about. And just pick a character like Bob, who has like 45,000. I mean, he has really good, amazing pokes. He is really good punishment, you know, launchers are amazing. And on top of that, he has a million different strings you have to learn to deal with. And just learning to play against Bob, to me, that's a pretty major project. And then you have like, 40 other characters to learn to deal with. And that to me, is the mountain of bullshit of Tekken, that so few players are ever going to reach the top of. I mean, it's just like, I think it was the latest Final Round tournament where I think, was it El Negro with Jinpachi? He connected a 10-hit combo on JDCR. And that to me just symbolized what I've always thought about Tekken, that there's no way to just take in all that information. There's just too much things going on in the game. And I'm perhaps at 10%, and I have 90% more to chew my way through. And sometimes that's exciting, but most of the time it's just depressing. So that's why I actually was hoping that for Tekken 7 they would actually trim down the move lists and stuff like that, and maybe change some major aspects of the gameplay. I know a lot of players don't want to see that happen, hopefully that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense to me. I think it's interesting. The most unique thing about your stance on this to me is most people have your opinion. most people think there's a mountain of bullshit. However, when people see that mountain, they think, well, fuck this, I'll play Street Fighter. But you see the mountain is there, but you just live with it. You love the mountain. It's almost like, it's an interesting and I think a very unique stance that you're taking, because most people will abandon the game once they see that there is this weird learning curve, and even the best player in the world struggles against a 10 string. But other people, they get discouraged in a different way. They get discouraged in a more I'm out of here type of way. So I think it's a pretty unique stance, but definitely my opinion on it is that you definitely should enter tournaments. It's obviously your opinion, but I think you have more than enough skills, and I think that it's more about your own personal, perhaps you're creating a mountain where there doesn't need to be one, is what I would say. Yeah, Zafina, as soon as they pick that character, maybe the main man's fucked. But I can't tell you how often, you don't really see Zafinas that often. You might be able to enter 10 tournaments and never run into a Zafina. And in those 10 tournaments time, perhaps you've gotten enough of a motivation to be like, well, you know what? Fuck this Zafina guy. I'll spend X amount of time in training mode. This is not necessarily advice to you per se. It's more advice to anyone who perhaps shares your opinion or stance on the game. I think that for someone like you who's interested in the game and, you really know about the competitive aspect and you're really good, it's like there's only one step left. We need to see the main man at tournaments. I think it's very, very important at this point. I would like to see that in the future.
Those were some pretty good points, actually. And thanks for the kind words. It means a lot coming from you.
Look, listen, I don't have shitheads on the show, okay? And if I ever do have shitheads on the show, one time only deal. Geese Master and fucking Run It Black. One time only.
Hey, wait. Going off of what Eric said, though, even when you say you lose to Zafina at a tournament, if you go to that same local tournament, and I'm saying local here, obviously, where the Zafina player locals, then eventually you're going to learn how this Zafina guy plays and the key moves that Zafina uses to beat you. And eventually you'll learn how to beat them. And that, even though it seems like a huge mountain, it's something that you'll understand really quickly, especially at your level, I think.
Yeah.
Even if when Tekken 7 comes out, I'm going to go to the arcade, or whatever happens, right? And I'm going to play the game, and some fool's going to pick Claudia or Katarina, and they're going to do some shit. I'm like, okay, I lost. I don't know what the hell just happened. And that's the approach, though, for every other character that I'm going to play. And, over time, you're just slowly going to learn bits and pieces that are going to let you compete with those players.
Yeah, that's for sure true. It's just that I think that I always have this, more often than not, I'm not helping myself because I go into those fights thinking I'm frustrated, from the first second, oh no, it's that character. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's I don't have my learning glasses on. I'm
Absolutely.
Always just sighing, oh, what the fuck was that? Sheep string. That's the first thing I say.
It's so sheep.
Yes,
yeah.
Sheep.
So I'm just not. I'm always not helping myself. So that's something I have to overcome as a player. Just the mentality going into these fights. I should do as Rip says, of course. Go into the fight super focused and think, okay, so now you're going to deconstruct the character. With every move that's thrown against you, you're going to try and read the properties of the moves. That's what you always should be doing in Tekken, but very seldom I do that. I'm just always thinking, so when can I land a 5 electric on this guy?
You just wait for that fucking moment. I'm gonna hit you with this cool-ass combo, motherfucker. That's tight. Yeah. That's tight. Okay. So one tournament that I think a lot of people knew that you were potentially going to go to was EVO. And it seemed like it was going to happen, but things fell apart because the game actually didn't end up at EVO for a while, and then last minute it was added. So you weren't able to go because I think, if I'm not mistaken, you had made plans for another vacation, and because you had thought that Tekken was not going to be at EVO, and at that point it was too late. Do you have plans perhaps to attend the next EVO that has Tekken, or is that something that could be in your future?
For sure I want to attend EVO, and I was actually thinking of going to EVO even though they wouldn't have Tekken, but then I knew that my girlfriend at the time, she was a really cool girl, and she said it will be a sausage party. But
That's how they put it. Yeah. Sausage
yeah.
party.
But I won't mind going, if you really want to. I thought, like, if they do have Tekken, I might just bring her with me. But if they don't have Tekken, I'm not going to crucify her. I'm going to leave her out of it, and we can go do something else. And as you said, or maybe you didn't stress that point, what what did they do? They said officially we won't have Tekken, and then like 2 months later they said, oh, we're gonna have a game, and I got so fucking annoyed because then of course I had made other plans and it was too short notice.
Yeah.
So that was very frustrating, but yeah, that's one of my goals in life, to attend an Evo, because it just seems so cool. A lot of awesome people there, and I know that one of the reasons I wanted to go to Evo was to meet you guys, Rip and Aris. So yeah, it sucks that I did not have that opportunity, but I mean, hopefully there'll be a Tekken game at the next tournament, but I guess maybe not. Maybe you guys have some intel on that?
I think obviously we don't have any concrete information, but at this juncture, looking at the way the time frame is working out, I think the best bet is probably that Tekken 7 will be at Evo under some capacity, but probably will not be released on console yet. So chances are it'll maybe be like a playable version there, or perhaps something like that. But I don't know. I mean, it's we'll have to wait and see. Either way, I think that's something really cool, and I would love to see you at Evo. I think it's something a lot of people want to see. A lot of people want to meet you and everything. So that would be really great. I think everyone can look forward to that in the future.
Everyone can pound my ass in casuals. That's what you're saying.
My. Ass pounding in tournament too. Why not?
Yeah.
If you're giving them out, let's do it. Okay, so another topic, of course, that we have to touch on before we wrap things up is Tekken 7. So there has been quite a bit of information that just avalanched out all at the same time during the location test. And I know on your YouTube channel you covered a lot of your opinions on the game. But let's talk a little bit about what you like and what you don't like about what you've seen, because we've talked about it a lot. Rip and I have discussed it on the show. I want to know what you think. Pros, cons, what's exceptionally interesting to you, and what do you hate about what you've seen as far as Tekken 7 goes?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say, yeah, I made a video where I talked about my first impressions of a game. And then like 2 minutes after watching it, I saw that Rip had made a similar video, and I was like, fuck you, Rip, because his vid was
that happened.
It was just like 50 times better than mine. I think in half the time I used, he has pointed out everything I had plus more stuff. So I was like, die. but yeah. I really like what we've seen so far. I mean, it's not a major overhaul of basics of a game, but I think implementing supers is a good thing. I mean, it's a gimmick that will attract a lot of people, I think, casual gamers. And of course, the look of a game, with Michael Bay explosions everywhere and flashing lights, life bars shaking all the time. It's quite pleasing to look at. And at first I thought the explosions were going to be very distracting, but after 5 minutes you forget about them. Even though they cover the whole screen on count rates, you forget about them for some reason. But I think the game looks great. The quality was really bad on the stream, but the textures were not there. One could see straight away. But I'm also liking what are they called? The armor moves, I think. Like
Power Crush, I think they're
called. Power Crush. Yeah, Power Crush. It's not the invincible move from Tekken Revolution, because that move does not work. But I think it's good that they kept something similar to that, because I think a lot of casuals want to see that in Tekken. They don't just want to have these, basic attacks, as one would call, what are they called in Street Fighter? Like normals. Yeah, I think to a lot of people, Tekken is a game just full of normals. There's nothing more to the game. So when they see like Power Crushes and Super Arts, they're like, Tekken's branching out. They will probably say there are different levels of strategy now in Tekken, although that's not the case.
Right.
Maybe Power Crushes will dumb down the game. But to casuals, that's not how they see the game. This is actually complexity being added to the game.
Very true.
And substance. Might not be true, but I think it will do a lot to attract people to the game. And but I was kind of pissed off actually when I saw the first. I think it was Paul versus Asuka, one of the first games I saw, and both of the players did their supers, and that's the first time I saw the supers. I saw Paul's, and I was like, isn't that the same animation from Street Fighter X Tekken? Did they just call Capcom and go like, please? We don't have the time, can you just send us your animations and we're just going to implement them? And Kazuya's, for example, it's also the same animation. And I noticed that on a lot of them. And I was like, this is kind of underwhelming because I know that the animators at Namco are pretty damn talented. I mean, if you look at characters like Raven and Fengwave, and when they were implemented in the game, it was like we had never seen anything like it before. These very exotic and really stylish fighting styles. They moved in a way we had not seen before, and that's kind of where we've been heading up to this point. With characters like Miguel, Alyssa, Lars, there's some very complex animations going on there. So I always thought like, the second we will see super arts in Tekken, we're going to see some very elaborate and well choreographed sequences or cutscenes. But we did not get that, in my opinion. So that was kind of heartbreaking to me. But I'm just hoping it will probably not be the case. But I was hoping it's like placeholder, just a proxy animation, and then with the arcade release we will see something different. But even if it stays, I mean, it's not going to kill me. But so that's probably what I thought was the biggest bummer. And yeah,
on that note, there is, I don't know if you're aware, but they did announce after the location test, Harada announced that there is a way to manipulate the super itself. What you can do is, like, for example, in the case of Paul's super, he launches you in the air and then he does a death fist when you land. But there is apparently, and I haven't seen this yet, but apparently there is a way to, after you connect the super, to manipulate it so that when you get launched in the air, instead of doing the death fist as an ender, you can actually finish with your own actual combo. Like by holding a direction, perhaps during the cutscene, you change the cutscene. So I don't know that many details on it, but there definitely is some way to manipulate the aesthetics as well as the properties of a super after they've connected. So maybe there is some potential for furthering the aesthetic appeal of supers with the altering of the actual animation. I don't know. He didn't announce that, so nobody ended up finding it or doing it during the location test. But I'm hopeful. And I definitely share your thoughts on that. Everything you said about the supers, I share your thoughts. I was looking for, I really liked King's. I like the way he points at the camera and everything.
Yeah,
but,
it's really cool.
Some of them are a little bit bland. They're kind of like, all right, I could have made that up. I could have guessed. Even Rip mentioned that he guessed what Law's super was going to be, and he was totally right. So,
it's a legend kick, right?
Yeah, legend kick, and there and a bunch of punches before it happens. So it's like, wow, that was kind of predictable. But we'll see. That's something that potentially has some improving that could happen.
I mean, they could, I agree with everything you said, and they could so easily throw in some personality in there, even some dialogue maybe, but all they did, of course, as you saw with a lot of them, is like, so they linked 3 animations, 3 generic moves in a row. It's like Brian's as well. I mean, what does he do? I think he does like the Mach Breaker, the Jet Upper. I mean, insert any generic Brian Staple moves here, and he chains them in a row. Or like Dragunov, I think it was the same thing. He ends it with a forward 3, I think. It's just, come on. You could so easily do something so cool here, but it just feels like a missed opportunity. Especially if it would be like the last Tekken game. I mean, go out with a bang, instead of like, didn't we see that in Street Fighter X Tekken?
That game did well.
Yeah, really. that game did super well, so let's copy it.
Copy that one.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess, it's something that we'll wait and see. I'm hopeful still, but I definitely share the sentiment of being a little bit deflated when I saw most of the supers. Not all of them, but most of them. Interestingly enough, the one I always bring up is King's, and his happens to not have any moves normals, quote unquote. He doesn't do any normals during his super. It's just he grabs them, points at the camera, and does a move, you know? So, and it's not a move he has typically. So that's why King stands out to me as one of the coolest looking supers in that game.
Yeah, but exactly because it has personality.
It's
King,
new. Yeah.
yeah, King points at the camera, you know, and there's some degree of King into the super arts. It's just not random moves, you know, linked together. And I wanted to see more of that, but there were so few times, you know, you saw those and went like, holy shit, that was actually kind of cool. And as you said, you know, with the hold back thing, that could be really interesting, but I mean, does it like reset the whole combo? I mean, can you go for a regular combo once again, or will you just be knocking them far back, you know, with a move? Because you've probably done the super from... I just don't see the point if you connect a super art, if it's not in a combo, and it just becomes like a launcher, a really bad launcher. Why would I want to risk all that, you know? And if you do it in a combo, then are you going to kill your own damage, you know? Because those super arts do a lot of damage, or are you just going to hold back, cancel the whole super art, and just go do like a regular Death Fist with Paul and just knock them the hell back, you know, right into the wall? Or will it actually reset the combo and you get like a double combo? I don't know. How would you even balance that whole shit out? It's just speculating, of course, but it sounds interesting, but I just don't see how it's going to work in practice. But yeah.
Yeah, the details are very, very vague on it. I mean, it was literally like one comment he made, maybe on Twitter or something, but very vague, just talking about how it is possible to cancel the final animation of the super and continue with your own combo. I don't know the details on it, but it's at least refreshing to know that we didn't see everything that, let's say, Oscar or King or any one of those characters has in terms of super arts. There is more that we haven't seen. That part is refreshing, you know, so I don't know. I'm hopeful about it. But it seems like you have very little that's bad to say about Tekken 7. I mean, you mentioned your gripes about the staleness of the supers, but otherwise everything seems cool to you? Seems like you're pretty open-minded.
My biggest issues laid in the presentation of the game. I was looking forward to seeing new intro, win poses, and new costumes. And when I saw that, holy shit, it's the same costumes we've been seeing since Tekken 7. And a lot of people find those iconic, so I can respect that. But I was one of those, you know, who played Tekken 4 and was like, oh, whoa, look at all these new outfits, you know, there was so much personality to it. I mean, I keep reusing the word personality, but Tekken 4 to me was almost perfect in that sense. You know, looking at Paul Phoenix, you know, who had his regular karate gi, but he pulled it down. It was around his waist, and he had a white t-shirt under, and he had his classic hair. And then you could go for the two-player outfit where he had these jeans, you know, and like the typical biker gear, but not the classic outfit he had in old games. And then he had his hair down, and it just did so much for the character. And that actually told us about Paul's. I know you guys maybe don't care about the story that much, but I do, you know. And seeing Paul's depressed Paul, you know, alcoholic Paul, as a two-player outfit, that to me it was mind-blowing. And look, there's military Huarang. He's in the military. Stuff like that is what I've been missing in the last few games, and I was kind of hoping that Tekken 7 would do something like that again, and they didn't. I mean, maybe it's too early to tell, but I did want to see new win poses, intro poses, and I wanted to see a bigger like change to the core fundamentals of the game, and we didn't get that, but that's not a huge deal to me. At least it wasn't just like Tekken 6 with balance fixes and new stages. I mean, that would have been the biggest bummer. But we got super arts, and we got a variation on the invincible move. So I shouldn't complain. They've done a lot to change the game. But I think Harad even pointed out on Twitter that we will see new win and intro poses, and they're not there yet. You know, this was like, what, 50% of overall product. But yeah, you're correct. I didn't have a lot of negative things to say. At first, I was happy that the bound was gone, and then I saw like, no, the bound is still there. Like 20 minutes
Way
later.
worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, did he do 2 bounds? No, it was 3 bounds.
3 bounds. Fuck it.
Yeah, and you were like, oh, now King has to go back to the classic, like forward 2-2, jab, jab, Shining Wizard, you know, midair.
Nope.
And then you were like, no, he double bounds, and then he fucks them in the ass. So I was, yeah, the combos were obviously still there. So we'll just have to wait and see what it looks like next time we get to see the game. And I couldn't even tell what the hell was going on, you know, with like King's down back 2. I was like, okay, so he's stuck to the ground, and oh, you get a free ground throw attempt, and you're like, oh, and the ground throw, yeah, it breaks
the floor.
Yeah, it breaks the floor. And they're launched up in the air again, and you're like, oh, a good player could probably do a Shining Wizard there, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. I'm
For
very excited.
the first 5 minutes, you were like, oh, look at the juggle damage. It's not there anymore. And then 20 minutes later, you saw the whole life bar go out in one launch, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're still there. Yeah.
Quite a task balancing that game, and I think that's part of the reason why we see location tests and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, I think either way, all of us are very, very excited about Tekken 7. And you know, that brings me to the topic of when will we get to play Tekken 7, right? So for you, I mean, you live in Europe, you live in Sweden, and I presume there aren't very many arcades there. And even if there are, chances of them getting Tekken 7 extremely unlikely. So what do you think about that aspect of the Tekken series? You know, it has to come out in arcades. There has to be a long period for them to make money. And people like you, me, and Rip won't get our hands on it for God knows when. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree with this, some might say, archaic model of having an arcade release? Or would you prefer it to be like a global console type of thing immediately?
I don't know if I'm correct, but aren't arcades like getting less and less relevant with each year that passes?
Absolutely. Even in Japan, yes.
Yeah, even in Japan. I mean, in America, didn't like a major arcade close down like just a year ago or something similar?
I mean, I don't even know of any I used to have tons of arcades around me, and they've all closed except for Super Arcade. And at this point, Super Arcade is basically like a venue. It's not necessarily an arcade, you know, that people take consoles there.
Yeah, that's so sad to hear. And I mean, here in Europe, there are basically no arcades. I mean, in Sweden, due to a tax law, actually, we're communists here. Yeah, you can't have arcade machines because the taxes are so high. It counts as gambling here, you know, so it's more efficient to have a poker machine. But yeah, for sure, I would like to see a console release. I almost want to see them do the whole Tekken 5 thing. I think it was when they released.
Immediately.
Wasn't it like, yeah, simultaneously? And all the arcade owners were like, no, you bastards. So I can see that it's a problem for arcade owners who are probably struggling right now. But as things are going right now with the whole fighting genre, I think, and the importance of a console market today, Namco has, I think, a lot to lose if they're going to do the whole arcade and then 6 months later or more console, because a lot of people find the game old, you know, once they get it on console, where they can actually physically buy it, get the game. I think they should stress the console game this time around, because I think probably today it's more important to get those 2 million sales on console rather than having a flourishing arcade release. I don't know. I mean, I know so little about this kind of stuff.
Right, of course. Just your opinion, you know, I'm just curious about that.
And obviously, I'd like to get the game as soon as possible, because that whole, I mean, TTT2 was out like a year after it was released, but I mean, Tekken 6, that was a huge slap in the face, in my opinion, to the Tekken community. Like, I think we saw for 2 years the Koreans or the Asians or in general master the game on YouTube, and then you got the game and it was like, you have nothing to discover or figure out, because it's all been done for you, and you're like, I already know the staple combo I have to do. I already know exactly how the walls work and where to implement the different moves. And all the new characters are not even new to me anymore, because I know all about them prior to even playing the game. Or not in my case, because I get killed by Leos all the time. But to me, I'd like to see Tekken 7 still fresh in my eyes when I get the chance to play it. So I don't know. Was it supposed to be released on arcade in like February or March?
We don't have a real date, but that's the window that even Michael Murray has kind of more or less confirmed that it's very close to the date that they're aiming for. So February, March-ish is approximate for an arcade release.
Yeah, I think
Oh, sorry, Rip. Go ahead.
sorry, I think the date for February March came from like the arcade reseller or like whoever sells the machine. I think that's the date that they had posted.
I see.
Okay.
I mean, it's reasonable. Go ahead, Adrian.
No, I'm actually hoping I can manage to go to Japan in March with my brother and actually try out Tekken 7. I think that would be. I've never been to Japan as well, so just seeing those arcades. I mean, it's probably one hell of an experience. So, have you guys been to Japan and like tried the early versions of Tekken or seen like releases of Tekken games?
Both Rip and I have both been to Japan on more than one occasion, and we both have enjoyed it very much so. And interestingly enough, now that you mention it, I think both of us are going to try very hard to try and make it out to the arcade release of Tekken 7 in Japan. I think that's something that a lot of people are kind of interested in. I think it's going to be, for some of us, extremely difficult to do, and for some of us, a little bit easier, but I think a lot of people are interested. And I think the arcade release for Tekken 7 will be a unique one in the sense that people from all over the world at this point might travel to Japan to experience the arcade release. So, we'll see. But I think a lot of people are interested. Even Markman mentioned that, he's going for the in Japan. He's going to rent a house, he mentioned. And, he was like, if anyone's down, I'm renting a house and I'm being out there for like a week or whatever. So, this is something that there's potential there. We're all going to try and see if we can get out there. But a lot of people love Tekken and a lot of people want to do a lot for the scene. So I think there's an opportunity here that if is missed, it would be kind of tragic. So knowing that the climate, knowing the way things are going to work with an arcade release and the fact that maybe the entire Western world won't get the opportunity to even get a good explanation on how the game feels with an English-speaking mouth who understands. This is something that even the location test that already transpired, it's like I haven't heard anyone really kind of break the game down about how they feel about what the little changes and intricacies are. And I think that's something that can happen. So, I'm very hopeful. I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out, who can make it out to Japan. And, I'm excited. Even though it's a little bit whack that we're going to have to wait God knows how long for a console release, I'm just really happy that a new Tekken's coming out and that there, like you mentioned, there are changes that could potentially attract a new audience to the game. I think that's very important. But yeah, unless there's anything else that you guys would like to talk about or any other topics, if you have anything you'd like to say, Adrian, before we move on to you plugging all your channels as well as Rip, and we still have to call people bitches, but I'd like to give you this opportunity to just whatever you want to talk about, you name it.
Christ, I don't know if I have. I mean, you've thrown all the questions I thought could be interesting. So I don't think I have anything else to add. I just want to say thank you, of course, to you and Rip and you for having me. I mean, it's a tremendous honor. I don't know if I'm the first Nordic player, maybe, but maybe even the first European player. I don't know. But
I had Ryan Hart on a podcast a while ago. But cool. You definitely are the first Swede, and I'm very happy to have you on. Absolutely.
Hey, what about that WC Maxi? Well, no, not WC Maxi. The other Maxi.
Oh, he was Swedish too. LD Maxi.
Yes.
Oh, you had Maximilian. Oh shit, I've missed that.
That's Maximilian.
Yeah.
That's
Maximilian.
Yeah. What happened to that guy? I like that guy a lot. He was one of my favorite podcasts. That guy was awesome.
Yeah, and of course his amazing YouTube channel when he stayed in Korea, and filmed games daily for like I don't know how long. He has done so much for the community, but it's been like 100 years since I talked to him the last. So I don't really know what he's doing these days, but he doesn't seem that active in the Tekken community. Last I saw was like a thread on Tekken Zabatsu that was called like Tekken community updates. But I just don't know. But a really cool guy.
Absolutely. I mean, either way, I got to tell you, I can't thank you enough. I know it was a real pain in the ass for you to get on the show. It's 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. maybe now
Oh
over
fuck!
there,
I mean,
so
it was well worth it. I mean, to get the chance to talk to you two. I mean, of course.
too kind, too kind. You really, I told you before the show, you got to cut this humble shit out and start talking shit to people big time. You turn up the shit talk, cut the humble out. But yeah, let's give you guys an opportunity to plug all your different channels. Go ahead, main man. Let's talk about your YouTube and all that stuff.
Plug my channel. Well, yeah, I have a YouTube account, the main man Sui. It's not very active right now, but I'll start streaming once more in 2 days, I think, and I'm going to try and stream daily. So if those who are watching are interested in that kind of stuff, which you probably are, check it out. And I have Twitter, of course, that I haven't used in like 10 years, but I'm going to start doing that as well, and that's also the main man Sui. And my Twitch is the main man Sui, of course. And those are my channels. So if you'd like to see a Mishima player get pounded in the ass, I'm going to use that expression a second time here. Check it
Use
out.
it all you want.
Yeah. So that's my plugging. Over to Rip.
Alrighty. Dan, that was like a newscasting. You're
Yeah,
like,
I
all
know.
right, back to how are you? Yeah. So yeah, obviously I've been in Hawaii for the past week, so I haven't been streaming. But you guys can catch me. I'll be flying home tomorrow, so I'll try and stream at night. If not, I'll be back in 2 days, and me and Main Man can play online or something. Probably not. We don't line up
Yeah.
times like that.
3 bars.
Yeah, perfect.
that.
Absolutely perfect. Yeah, I'll be pounding some Mishimas in the ass, and you can find me at
bastard.
twitch.tv/ level up your game.
Hey, Adrian, let me ask you this. You remember that one time I played you online and I was saying you're a piece of shit or whatever? Was that really your dad that I called a piece of shit?
No, of course, I was just joking.
Okay. Because someone told me that was Main Man's dad that was playing and you just called his dad a piece of shit. I thought that was kind of weird, but I thought I might clear that up. So, okay, this is an opportunity for us to do our bitch callings. Rip or Adrian, are either of you prepared to call someone a bitch?
Let Rip start, because I have to think really hard about this one. I have so many names I have to recollect there.
Go ahead, Rip.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna call Princess Ling a bitch.
Okay.
You know, and it's because I played him last week, and you know, I messaged Speed Kicks trying to get some advice. He didn't give me any advice, but you know, I ended up beating Princess Ling. But while I was beating him, like anytime he would win a round or a match, he would start taunting, right? And so he would do these taunts, like he's like, yeah, I got this. And he'd be typing in the chat. And so, you know, like whatever, like, you know, or like happy faces, whatever the hell he does. And I don't know what the hell it is with him. If you ever see Princess Ling in the chat, whenever he types in the line, he tries to put a Kappa face, he always puts it together, so you never see the Kappa face. You always see what he typed. I don't know. That's another reason he's a bitch, though. And then the next time I played him, you know, I 5-1'd him, and he wasn't talking at all. You know, but then he's all like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to hurry up. I had to go to dinner. It was like 11:30 p.m. or whatever. So he's pulling the dinner card, and like, anyway, whatever. You know, so Princess Ling, you're a bitch.
To me, Princess Ling, I can definitely concur with that. Princess Ling can go fuck himself for sure. Good games online. I like your style, but fuck you. Go ahead, Main Man.
So
If
I'm
you
going
need
to...
more time, I could go.
No, I'm good, actually. Okay. I'm going to start by calling DT Devil a fucking bitch. He's a combo video maker from the Middle East, I think, from Pakistan, actually. And he is actually, I think he's trying to do the thing I'm doing and start playing more competitively. But every time I play you, DT Devil, your connection is, yeah, fucking rubbish. So get that wooden modem out and get a decent connection, you fucking asshole. And then I have Shini44. You told me you were going to donate to my channel and then you didn't. Fuck you.
Damn. Okay, fair enough. I like that. You know, you're a really honest guy. That's what I like about you. All of your answers have been very sincere, and I like that. Good shit. My bitch calling is definitely going to be... Now, I have to be very gingerly on this, because my bitch calling is Twitch. Now, let me preface this by saying I'm very grateful for the opportunity to partner with Twitch and stream, and I really enjoy it. But let me tell you, I reached 250 subscribers the other day, and that meant that I was able to get 2 more emoticons in my chat room. Now, that's fantastic. It's a fucking celebration, confetti and shit, right? Except, in the one day it took me to get this fucking emoticon together, Cheese Pizza, shout outs to that guy, he made me an emoticon, it's for Harada. I go to fucking input this emoticon into Twitch, and by the time I get to put it in there, it says, "We're sorry, you lost 2 subscribers in the last day, so you now have 248, and you can't use those emoticons that you unlocked." So allegedly, the way it works is you either use it or lose it in the one fucking day you have. I was really frustrated with that, because if I had, let's say, used the Harada emoticon and it were active in the chat, if I dip under 250 subscribers, they would not take it away. So to me, logically, that sounds like either a bug or a design oversight in Twitch's emoticon feature, but I was so pissed. I was so pissed. Now, since then, of course, the very generous people who have subscribed put me over that 250 again, and I already put that Harada emoticon in immediately, so that wouldn't happen again. But I was just infinitely frustrated with that, the existence of that stupid fucking rule. I mean, what do I have to do? Have the fucking emoticon quick draw locked and loaded immediately? Boom, I hit 250. I gotta fucking put it on right now. You know, I was very irate. So my bitch calling, though I very much appreciate Twitch's existence, is the design of that stupid emoticon shit. That being said, Twitch, you're fantastic. 2 thumbs up. Anyway, that about wraps it up.
Streamer problems.
What's that?
First world streamer problems.
Yeah,
man.
I know. Exactly. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. Anyway, I can't thank you enough, main man, for being on the show. I know it was a little bit of a hassle for you, but I'm sure tons of people appreciate it. There's a lot of people who were wondering and wanted to have you on the show, and I actually really hope you'll come back. I know it's kind of a pain in the ass for you. 5 a.m., you know, we'll give it some time, but hopefully someday in the future you'll be able to come back on the show, and I can't thank you enough for being on.
And I mean, thank you guys. It was no hassle at all getting up to do this. I mean, I very much love to do it again, as I'm a huge fan of both of you. And yeah, thank you for all the kind words. That's what I want to say.
Sounds great. Take it easy, Internet. ATP Live. Peace.